All right, guys. Incoming 40K question. Fritz, how are you playing your Necrons? How do you feel about Necrons right now in this edition of 40K? My opinion, we have kind of this tier 1, 2, and 3. 4. Maybe this is an older ranking system, but coming up through the ranks of 40K through 4th edition, 5th edition, and 6th edition, heavy competitive tournament play, this is kind of how I mentally put armies in different categories. Tier 1, 100% competitive, amazing to play, a lot of really good things going for the army. Tier 2, still powerful, but not every unit is useful. Tier 3, a lot of units not very useful, things overpriced, hasn't been updated in a while, not in line with the current meta. And Tier 4, back in the day, like Sisters of Battle, Dark Eldar, 15 years to update. Interesting concepts, some fun stuff, but just no way it's ever going to compete in the tournament scene. Now, I have to say for 8th edition, this idea of Tier 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's really been minimized a lot. Games Workshop has done a great job of keeping the various armies up to date, introducing new units, having different options in there. Yes. So really, in my mind, it's kind of Tier 1, Tier 2, maybe Tier 3. I consider Necrons a Tier 1 army. Almost every unit in the army is good, has some use on the tabletop. Now look, naturally, some units are better than others, but it depends on the combinations that you play. An example would be Immortals versus Warriors. Yes, point for point, and in terms of options, Immortals are much better. But if we're just going on raw numbers and you want to throw down critical mass, and this is kind of important for one of the ways I play Necrons, that's why you go with a lot of Warriors on there. But both are solid. Immortals are a little bit more solid. Certainly some of the various Necron vehicles and things like that, those are absolutely where it's at right now, where you want to play, how you want to utilize. Necrons really don't have anything that are bad. Am I wrong about that? I'd like to know in the comments, compared to other armies out there and other uses. So now when we sit down, so I consider them a Tier 1 army. Now when I sit down to play them, my play style of Necrons, and there's lots of ways to play 40K. I should kind of put that out there because I don't want to mislead anybody thinking this is the best way or the only way. And certainly if you're new to 40K, one of the things that I want to say is they are your models. They are your time painting. It is going to be your experience on the tabletop. So with that in mind, maybe you want to play a competitive army. Maybe all you care about is winning. So whatever you need to do in terms of units to play to crush, that's okay. Maybe you want a well-balanced army where the core is solid and you can swap out models in your collection. So maybe you're like, look, I want everything in Necrons. I want to build up my Cron collection so 3 or 4 years down the road, I've got, multiples of everything sitting on my gaming shelf. And it's kind of like, what do I feel like playing today? Or maybe you have a certain idea of what you want to play. I want to play the Blind King. I just want like lots and lots and lots of flayed ones, right? Lots of ways to play 40K. So with my Necrons, the narrative is Tomb Kings in space. And part of this is because for a long time I've been playing Necrons, back when they were Necron Raiders, and the visuals and kind of the idea behind it of a Necron phalanx advancing, very Romanesque. I know Ultramarines, Ultra Smurfs are supposed to be Romans in space Romans, but I feel like Necrons kind of want to play that and kind of have this advancing undead robot horde. In my mind, the Star Gods are the true inheritors of the universe, and before Ward destroyed the Necron fluff. So my mind is still kind of back there. Although, the dynasties are kind of cool, and there's some kind of different things, and I'm glad the lords and overlords have more of a personality now, rather than kind of ghost-like. So with my army, the core is going to be multiple Necron warriors. Big blocks of warriors on there. The idea that I am going to dominate the center of the table. I'm going to flood the center of the table with so many Necron warriors that I'm just going to torrent you down. It's like taking lots and lots and lots of Chaos cultists. Only the Necron warriors are arguably much better in terms of shooting, in terms of base armor, and with reanimation protocols, regeneration, aka we'll be back, they're going to really last. So I'm just looking to flood the table maximum mass of warriors. This is why in this equation, warriors are better than immortals. If I was going for a more compact army and I had some vehicles that were going to give me speed and different angles that I would attack, then yeah, absolutely I would go with immortals. But I need to flood the table, shut down the center of the table so it forces you to confront the block of my army. You know, imagine like a Roman army on the field that just takes up the entire field. You really can't get behind it. You really can't outflank it. You really can't kind of, you know, run around in circles and kind of torrent it down. No, it's just this massive block coming towards you. Now, on the left side or the right side, I'm going to throw down a monolith. And this is a capstone idea where I'm going to use this monolith to drive a wedge into your army, either on the left or the right side. Because by placing a model, and this isn't only true for the monolith, this is true for other kind of capstone units, could even be a land raider of sorts. You limit the avenues that your opponent can attack. If I put the monolith in the center of the table, they can attack me from the left, from the right, from straight on, or from behind. You know, maybe they have something that can fly over, or you have something to insert, or deep strike. If I place it on the left side of the table or the right side of the table, you can't attack that side of the table. It limits it. It also puts pressure on the ability for my opponent. If it's on the left side of my table, it's on your right side, you are up against the right side of the table edge. You can't bring in units from that right side, the table edge. You have to shift them over from the opposite side or the center of the table to reinforce. So this idea of a capstone driving into your army. What side do I put it on? Okay, depends on terrain, depends on the mission, depends on the army I'm facing and the units that you have on there. I can't answer that unless we're actually in a game. And we can see actually the deployment here in the splash screen of this podcast of this kind of in this concept in action against some Ultra Smurfs. I then have destroyers. Lots of destroyers. Destroyer Lord. They deploy in the center of the table behind the warriors. They had a little bit of shooting, but they're there to see, they're there as a reactionary unit, which means if my warriors are steadily advancing, you know, it's like a Roman march, steadily advancing. And if you insert behind or you have some units that could threaten to punch a hole in the warriors or maybe slow down somewhere, then I'm going to put my destroyers on you. If there's a chance for me to break through on one of the flanks and really drive behind you, then this massive destroyer pack will then come out on there. So I'm looking for opportunities. And again, I can't say what that opportunity is going to be. You're going to hand it to me, or you're going to present it. Maybe it's a false opportunity. Maybe it's a trap. But I'm waiting to see what we're going to do. And then I've got death marks where they're just looking to cause some chaos. They're looking to, because you've got your army plan. I've got my army plan. You've got your army plan. And the death marks aren't so much about killy, although of course I want to get the killy on the table, but they're kind of like, where can I deploy? Where can I move? What can I shoot to cause problems, to cause challenges, to force you to siphon off units and just generally cause as much chaos? Can Necrons cause chaos, even though they are not chaos? To do as much as I can on there. So really, I guess we're playing Horde Necrons. I want to have like hundreds of warriors. I want to have like the monolith. I want to have like the Necron invasion pushing forward there. I want to have like legions of destroyers flying overhead, just blasting you apart on there. It's a themed army. And with a themed army, that's what I'm looking to play, and that's what I'm looking to leverage. Certainly not the only way. Certainly not the most optimal or effective army. But in 40K, if you don't have the most effective army, then you need a plan. You need a way to execute that plan, and you need a way to prevent your opponent from countering that plan. In theory, as best you can. And that's the challenge of 40K. You are trying to impose my will I'm trying to impose my will on you, and you are trying to impose your will on me.